Hi there. It's January the 19th and we're continuing our journey through Matthew's Gospel, and we're in chapter 12. We're going from verse 46 and working through to chapter 13 and verse 23. So at the end of chapter 12, Jesus is teaching in a house and his mother and his brothers arrive and they want access to him, even though he's in the midst of teaching. Now we understand when we read John's Gospel a little later on, we see some of the encounters Jesus has with his mother and his brothers there, so that his first miracle in Cana of Galilee, Jesus has to say to his mother, "Mother, don't push me, I'm not ready yet." Similarly, in John chapter 7, when his brothers want Jesus to go to Jerusalem and reveal that he's Messiah, Jesus says, "I'm not going to do this just because you tell me, I'll go in my own good time." So we can see that there is a relationship here where although Jesus doesn't want to dishonor his parents, at the same time, he is saying, I can't give you special access. I can't give you right of access. I can't show you favoritism, and I won't be pushed and controlled. And therefore, when his mother and brothers come and they want special favored access to him, Jesus says, no, actually, it's about doing the will of my Father. That's the most important thing. And actually, my real brothers and sisters and mother are not those who have a blood relationship to me, but those who are willing to follow my Father. So it's a call again to costly discipleship. And then in chapter 13, we come to Jesus teaching. He's teaching by the seaside, by the Sea of Galilee in Capernaum. And as he is teaching, many people come. And so he gets into a boat and he teaches from a boat. This is the next block of Matthew's teaching, the record of Jesus teaching. And Jesus here teaches, he says, in parables. Now, parables are very important because parables are not a new thing that Jesus invents. Parables are actually in Hebrew called mishalim. The book of Proverbs in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew scriptures, is called mishalim. And it's not just about sayings, it's actually about life guidelines. It's about life lessons. And so Jesus is speaking here in the tradition of this mishalim in Hebrew. In fact, American Episcopal minister Cynthia Bourgeau describes Jesus as being in a tradition of the moshel, of the wisdom teacher. And there's something interesting here that Jesus is doing, that he's using then, something people would understand, be familiar with. But he's taking examples from around him. He's pointing to the sower who is sowing, maybe going by, broadcasting, a common sight. Broadcasting is seed. And of course, Jesus points out that his seed is falling on various kinds of ground, rocky ground, ground that is not very deep, ground where there's weeds, and also good ground. And so this ground has different kinds of effect on the seed. The birds come and take it, the weeds choke it, the sun scorches some of it, but there is seed that produces fruit. And that's the thing about seed. Seed is about producing fruit. Then his disciples come to him and they say, why is it you're teaching in these mishalim? Why are you teaching in these parables, Jesus? Why aren't you teaching people principles and doctrines? That Jesus said, actually, that won't work. We've done doctrines, we've done teachings with the people of Israel for years. The prophet Isaiah said, we will teach you, you'll listen, but you won't hear, you won't perceive. So Jesus is using pictures from life so that maybe people will grab the spirit of what he's saying. He reveals these mysteries to the disciples themselves, of course, and he tells them the meaning behind the mashal, behind the parable of the sower. And he says that these different kinds of ground are the ground into which the word that God is king is sown. Because after all, that's what the message of the kingdom is. The message of the kingdom is God has become king. And so Jesus is now saying that that seed represents those words that are saying God is king, and people's reaction to them. And the first three are all reactions where they land, but they don't make a difference. They don't make a change. But actually in the last one, they make such a change that they bear fruit. And this is the aim that Jesus has. It's for this seed to bear fruit 100-fold, 60-fold, 30-fold. It's interesting when back in the Hebrew scriptures, when Isaac sows his fields, it says that he reaps 100-fold. So in people's minds, they would be used to, this was a common idea, the idea of reaping 100 more times of seed than you actually sowed was kind of a pinnacle of achievement. And so Jesus is saying this is what the message that God is king is seeking to achieve. It's seeking to achieve fruitfulness in your lives. And so we today need to be looking not just for the seed to land and to produce nice crops and nice foliage, but actually we need to be longing for that fruit that actually makes a difference, that brings transformation in our day. Have a very good January 19th.